So I like to start this class by giving you guys a little bit of background on me and how I got started in the business because, well, first of all, it's not about me, but I think in sharing my experience, and some of you have heard the story. So for those of you who have, I apologize, you're going to listen to it a second time, but I think it helps give perspective. I think it helps give perspective to, if I was able to make it in real estate, being brand new to Minnesota 18 years ago with zero sphere, meaning the extent of my adult interaction was my own family. Didn't have friends, didn't grow up here, so didn't have folks that I went to grade school, middle school, high school, college, anything that with. And one of the things that I was terrified of when I first got into the business was where am I going to find business? Where am I going to find sellers and buyers who want to work with me? And so if I was able to do it, anyone can, literally anyone can. Real estate isn't rocket science. And I don't mean that in a derogatory or negative manner, but it's that thing that we hear Gary Keller and MAPS coaches say all the time. It's simple, not easy, right? Real estate's simple at the end of the day. It's pretty simple stuff that we're doing. It can get complicated from time to time. The not easy part comes into play when it's not easy being consistent in the boring activities that lead to the business, right? Because we're a society of instant gratification. And if we don't get results right away, what do we usually do? We move on, right? We quit or we move on to the next shiny object. Well, this isn't working. That was a big fat waste of time. So I'm going to go now try this, right? And I think if at the end of the day, we really truly ask ourselves, did you really give it your all? I mean, really give it your all. Were you all in or were you half in, right? So what happened was as I began coaching agents, I did a reflection back on my own sort of path. And when I look back to what launched me or got me really going the most out of anything that I had done, it was the open houses that I started. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you today, I learned through trial and error. Again, I wasn't this real estate genius that came in, good morning, and figured things out overnight. This was through trial and error. The one thing that I did have, I lacked experience and I lacked the sphere in the database, but the one thing that I did have was that fire in my belly, right? And when I'm the type of person when I commit to something, I'm all in. So we're gonna go through that. As we go through the class here too, guys, I want it to be collaborative. I want you to, it's pretty laid back as far as, just shout out your question. You don't have to raise your hand or wait to be called on. I want it to be collaborative. I want you to share your own experiences because I think you'll find that we'll learn from one another as well. So before we get started here, who did an open house this past weekend? I got 1, 2 people, 2 folks. How'd they go? Okay, why? What does that mean? What happened? Or what didn't happen? No one came. Okay. Saturday, Sunday? Sunday. And what time did you do it?
11 to 2.
11 to 2. Okay. And was it a new listing? What kind of listing was it?
2 weeks old.
2 weeks.
Okay. Been on a couple of weeks. Is it your listing?
No, it's Sarah's.
Oh, Sarah's. Okay. Where was it at?
Lewiston.
Lewiston. Okay.
Hard place.
I was gonna say, I don't know much about Lewiston. Is that a smaller community? Okay. And what sorts of things did you do ahead of time to promote the open?
I didn't, it was her listing. So she did an ad.
Like on Facebook?
No, just in the paper.
In the local paper. Okay. So she did an ad in the local paper. Okay. Anything else that you know of?
No.
Okay.
I saw her stuff posted on Facebook.
You did? Okay, good.
I think I saw some of that too.
Okay, good. So she did something on a personal Facebook page. Okay, awesome. Do you have a personal Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Okay.
How about you, Erin?
I had 2 opens Saturday.
Both on Saturday?
Both on Saturday.
From what to what?
First one was 9 to 11.
Okay.
Second one was 11:30 to 1:30.
1:30. Okay, and how'd they go?
First one was a dud. No one showed up.
Okay, 9 to 11, kind of early on a Saturday, and I'm not judging. I am a fan of trying different times and different days, right, to see how that works. Was that your first time doing one early on a Saturday?
First time at that house.
Okay, but
Early.
you've done 9 to 11 opens before on Saturdays? Okay, and do you generally get good traffic?
Right, 9 is a little early.
Okay.
Later, but after 10 is probably a good time.
Okay, all right.
When I'm trying to stack at least 2 in a day. I try
Yeah.
to start early.
Yeah, well, and you just never know, you might be catching mom and dad on the way to the grocery store or whatever, right? And sometimes the kids are up early, she's at Target by 7, whenever they open. I drive her mom. Okay, so 9 to 11, no traffic?
None.
Okay, and then your 11:30 to 1:30?
It had more traffic.
Okay, good.
That was in Rochester. We had 5 groups come through.
Where was the first open house at?
Pine Island.
Okay, yeah, 5 groups. And how did you get the word out about your open?
Just the online presence
Okay,
for this Saturday.
okay. Did you post on the social media or anything?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds good. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't do an open house this last weekend. I showed houses in Wisconsin. But what I did when I first got into the business was I learned very quickly that holding an open house really meant I was doing it to leverage, right, to grow my database, right? So the general public, our sellers, believe, and it's not like we're trying to mislead them, that we're holding open houses because that's what's going to sell their home. When we know that 99% of the time that's not what's going to sell their home. However, is it necessary? Did I hit the wrong button? I don't know. I'm sorry. It did the little circle thing.
You're good.
Okay. So, the dirty little secret or not so secret is open houses really are for us as agents to grow our databases, right? To get more exposure. And on occasion, we will sell the listing. As a matter of fact, I guess in my heyday of doing open houses, I don't do them as much anymore as I used to because I don't have to. I used to sell a lot of my own listings through open houses, and I attribute that to some of the things that we're going to go over in today's class. And most of that is preparation and my knowledge of the market, knowing the market really well, okay? So you should be holding open houses to, first and foremost, when you're holding an open house and someone comes in, you want to try and sell that listing that you're in, right? Because do nosy neighbors and family members and mother-in-laws and best friends come through open houses that you're holding to see what kind of job you're doing only to report back to the seller? Yeah, it happens, right? So the last thing you want to do when someone comes through the open house is not talk about the house and start trying to, make them aware of other properties that might work for them. So a great script for that might be, "Hi Jenny, my name is Erin. What brought you out to the open house today? Welcome."
I was bored, so I was just nosy.
"Oh, okay, perfect. So how did you happen to find out about the open house?" "Good morning."
Saw it in the paper.
"Okay, saw it online." Perfect. So
When
I'm
you
gonna-
said online, were you referring to papers? Are you calling that online?
well, if the newspaper is putting the ad online, then yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you found it in the newspaper?
Yes.
You said, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna give you a feature sheet on the house. Here are the details with regard to the home. I'm gonna point out a couple things that might not be apparent when you first come through the open house, if that's okay with you. And then just holler if you have any questions. And then what I would do is I would just kind of stand in the background. In the beginning, I followed them around, like lost bucket up, right? I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said, I failed forward. I was learning. And there's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent, but you also want to give them breathing room, right, to be able to see the house and take the house in. Oh gosh, why did I go down this road? I lost my train of thought. Where did I start with? Guys, help me here.
You're scripting and hand her the fact sheet, you're gonna let her walk around,
Right,
what comes next in the script.
right. No, it wasn't that. Gosh darn it. What was it? It's gonna happen a few times. Y'all are gonna have to reel me in and help me keep track. So I would start the open house that way. I'd give them a feature sheet, and I would try to get from them, how did you happen to find out about the open house? Why do you think I asked that question? I'm tracking. I want to know what's working from a marketing perspective. Why else might I be asking that question? How'd you happen to find out about the open house today?
It might be a spy.
Oh, that brings me up to, we were talking about, could there be people shopping to see what kind of job they're doing? So thank you for that, it brought me back. So we want to make sure that we're selling the house first. So I'm going to talk about the house. I'm going to give you a feature sheet. I'm going to give you time to walk around the house and check it out. And then I'm going to probably plant myself in the kitchen or kind of a main part of the house so that when you come back around, I'm going to say, "So Jenny, what do you think about the house?" So role play, what do you think about the house?
It needs a lot of updating.
Okay. So in your perfect world scenario, the house you're looking for is going to need very little work.
Yes.
Okay, all right. How about the layout of the house? Is it missing anything crucial to your I want list?
I want a nice, huge master closet.
Okay. So because this one lacks that walk-in closet, probably not gonna do it for you. Okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking for her to say something that rules the house out before I go in for, hey, you know what, I understand that this house lacks that master walk-in closet that you're looking for, but I'm aware of a house that's about half a mile from here. I close my open today at 1:00. I can meet you there at 1:15 for a private showing. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Is it hard to say anything other than yes or no to that question? Would that be helpful? You even hesitated for a second, right? It's like, oh,
Just going, what do I have to do next?
exactly. Would that be helpful rather than can we meet at 1:15? That's much easier to say no to than would that be helpful, right? And so what I did there was a couple of different things. I made it obvious that she was excluding the house that I'm in. So in case she's one of those secret shoppers, a friend, checking out how I'm doing, right? I have now made it very clear, she's made it very clear rather that she's not interested in that home. So once I have that green light, then I'm gonna start going into my next script was how do I get in front of her to show her another property? Because in my world, my thought philosophy was, because it rang true 99% of the time, is if I can get in front of her one more time outside of the open house, she was then mine to lose. Okay? If I could build that rapport and intrigue her enough to meet me at another property or allow me to do another showing or somehow schedule an appointment with her, then she was mine to lose. Okay? So I got a little off the beaten path there, but I wanted to go into make sure, particularly when you're holding an open house for another agent, which we do a lot in this business, right? I had to rely completely on other agents to allow me to hold their open houses when I first got to the business because I didn't have any listings yet, right?
So you sure you set up that appointment right on the spot or you follow up with them after you open house?
I try and schedule that appointment on the spot. Yeah, it's much more difficult to, get that second appointment after they leave than it is to try, nail them down right on the spot. Whether I'm going to introduce them to another property or I'm going to invite them to come into the office for a buyer consultation. I try and schedule that right then and there if I can. Okay. So when I got into the business, I think I've shared the story with a few of you. My first day in the office, I was in tears because I thought, I'm ready to start this real estate world on fire. They brought me in. I dutifully filled out all the paperwork. I turned it in at the front desk and I was like, all right, what's next? And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like, what do you mean, what's next? Go sell some houses. We didn't have training, coaching, mentoring programs at Edina Realty when I started 18 years ago. They just didn't exist. And so I had to roll up my sleeves and dig in and figure it out, right? And I learned that pretty quickly that wasn't anyone that was going to do it for me. The lead generation that was going to be in my future was on me, right? And this was before the internet leads and all that good stuff, right? And I'm so grateful for that, by the way. And the reason why I'm grateful for that is because it caused me to do just that, roll up my sleeves and dig in. And learning how to lead generate the old-fashioned way. And when I say that, what I mean by that are open houses, door knocking, calling expireds, calling FSBOs, calling your spheres, staying in touch with people, right? Rather than relying on internet leads. And internet leads are good. They're good, but they can go away at any time, right? They really can go away at any time. Either they can double, triple, quadruple in price and you can no longer afford them. Or if you're on a team perhaps, and all of a sudden the team makes a decision to maybe stop investing in online leads, or you're just not getting them to the degree that you thought you might be, you don't necessarily have control over that. Whether you're purchasing the leads yourself, you still really aren't truly in control of those leads and where they're coming from. The company that you're buying them from are, or the team that you're on are, right? And so I'm grateful for that time, even though I had to work really, really hard, it paid off in dividends because I learned how to do the lead gen the old-fashioned way. So I'm in the office, I'm in tears. I call my husband, I say, I think I just made a huge mistake. He's like, what the heck happened? Saw you an hour ago, you're ready to set the real estate world on fire. Like, who do I need to come and pummel at the office? I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't even know where to start. And he's like, well, suck it up, buttercup, you'll figure it out. Best words he could have said to me, because it caused me to, okay, I'll show you. That wasn't very supportive. And you're right, I do need to suck it up and figure it out, right? This was a decision I had made. So I sat there for a minute and had my little mini pity party. We're all entitled to that moment. And I thought, what in the world could I be doing right now? Like, what's something productive I could be doing that's going to cost me very little, because I'm not making any money yet. I've just spent money up until that point to get into real estate, right? And is likely probably just going to really cost me time. And so open houses popped into my mind. So I started going around the office and introducing myself. Hi, my name is Erin. I'm a new agent in the office. Do you have any open houses I can hold for you this weekend? And what happens? You know, most of the bigger agents can't possibly physically hold every single listing they have open. So I had open house opportunities. And then what started happening, unbeknownst to me, was I was training them to do what? What was I training them to do? Unintentionally. Ask me to host opens, because every Monday morning, first thing, I walked around the office and I asked the agents, hey, do you have any open houses for me to hold open? The other thing that I did was I made sure that I did a really, really, really good job for them. And what I mean by that is I would make sure that I arrived early, that I locked up, made sure that the place was secure. I created and brought my own branded flyers, but I made sure that I removed them when I left, right? Don't leave them behind, because that confuses sellers if it's not your listing and you're holding it open for someone else and they come home and they're like, why are Melissa's flyers here? It's Heather's listing. Heather, is Melissa my agent or are you, right? So just make sure that you're respectful of that. You can do it. Make sure you remove them with you. And then I had a Sunday night routine. I sat down and I sent feedback out to the listing agent. Sent it in an email. Had 8 people through, 2 semi-interested, 1 had an agent, the others weren't, whatever the case may be. So that when they had an open house and they thought that they needed to find someone to hold it open, I was the name that popped into their mind. Number 1, because I was always looking for one. And number 2, I did a good job when I held them, right? So be that person if you decide to go after the open houses. The one thing, like I said, that I was really, really great at was consistency. Because when I started doing these open houses, I was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I failed forward. I followed them around like a lost puppy dog, room to room to room, probably drove them nuts and drove them away, right? And I would meet them with very high energy when they walked into the open house. I would say, hi, my name is Erin. Thank you so much for coming to my open house. And you are?
Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. What brings you out today?
I just lived down the street and just wanted to check out their home.
Oh, awesome. Now, if you know me, you know that is my personality style. But if you don't know me, that probably seems very what?
Right.
Or disingenuous, right? Like over the top, like excited, like slow your roll, sister. Like I just met you. I get that you think we're BFFs, but I barely know you. And for me, it was very genuine, because that's just how I greet people and meet people, you know, especially if I feel a connection. But what I was doing is likely scaring away. Are you guys aware of what the DISC is? The DISC profile. So the D is for very direct, very driven. I'm high D. I'm also high I, and my high is slightly higher than my D. So I'm someone who, the life of the party. I like to socialize. You know, I like to meet new people. I like to be in conversation. And then the S is, I always kind of say slow and steady. They want to make sure that they have systems in place, and they're the researchers and the planners. And I like that in my life too. It's just not as high as my I and my D. And the C is compliant. You want to make sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, you're a rule follower. I'm always pushing the boundaries, right? I don't break the rules, but I will push them to their very outer limits. Like, what do you mean? Are you sure I can't do that? Are you absolutely sure I can't do that? I'm pretty sure I can do that. I'm pretty sure I can figure out a way to do that, right? That's me. And so when I was meeting them with that high energy, those S's and those C's, they were like, right? They just weren't feeling it. I probably came across as, like I said, very disingenuous, or it was just too much. And it took me probably a good couple of months to figure that out. I don't know, someone talked about the DISC. And I was recognizing, the one other thing that I'm good at is I recognize patterns pretty quickly. And what I was recognizing was I was connecting on a really high level with some people and just not at all with others. And that bothered me because I'm high I, because us high I's, we want to be loved by everyone, right? And so when I wasn't feeling the love from everyone, it bothered me. So it caused me to reflect on my actions. Like, what was I doing to like turn people some away and turn others into best friends and people that, you know, wanted to meet and work with me right away. So if there is one thing that you can do for yourself, it would be to go to TonyRobbins.com. Do you guys know who that big guy is? Motivational speaker, travels the country. It is literally his name, .com. And on there, he has a free disc assessment that you can take. And you literally go on there and answer a series of questions, and poof, a report is emailed to you that will show you and break down where your strengths are, what the high things are, right? We also have something here called a KPA that if you were to go and take it on your own, it's like $250. You can take it here for free. You just have to email Katie and ask her to send you the link. So a lot of people, a lot of Keller Williams agents, when they're looking to add to their team and hire an admin or a buyer's agent or wherever they're at in the process, they will have them take this KPA because it helps them distinguish where someone's strengths and weaknesses lie, because we all have both, right? We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. We want to add leverage where we have weakness, right? And we want to stay where we have strengths, right? In our 20% where our strengths lie, right? So for example, when I'm out trying to drum up clients in business, I'm much better off in person, one-on-one, creating those relationships, right? That's where I feel comfortable. That's where I connect. When it comes to like systematizing that, I get extremely uncomfortable because I'm not someone to learn how to like figure out technical things, right? I'm not a direction reader. Give me a toy at Christmas time and I'll force that thing together. It come hell or high water, I will not read the directions. That's my husband's job, right? I'll do all the shopping, I'll do all the gift wrapping. He has to put the presents together because I just don't have the patience to sit and read directions, right? So what taking that disc will do is that will help you understand the different personality profile types. And then that way, when people start coming through your open house, you can meet them where they are, right? So Erin's gonna role play with me. He's coming through my open house. He's not that high I, he's not that high D, I'm guessing from your disc profile. You've got I, but you're probably a little bit more subdued than I would be, I'm guessing.
INS.
You're an IS, okay. Hi Erin, so nice to meet you. I'm Erin, the listing agent. Thanks so much for coming out today. What brings you out today?
Well, I was in the neighborhood, saw signs, I just want to stop and check.
Okay, perfect. How'd you happen to hear about the open house today?
I was driving through the neighborhood and I saw the signs and I followed.
Okay, perfect. Have you been looking at many homes?
Off and on, online mostly, not really too active yet.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna give you a detailed feature sheet, some information on the home. If you happen to have any questions as you go around, just holler at me and let me know. I'm happy to answer them.
Okay.
Yeah, right? So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I slowed the pace of my conversation with him. My tone and my volume came down a little bit, right? I had to meet Erin where he was at versus if I have a high I coming in the door, I can meet them in my natural state with high energy. And that's not that I'm not being who I am or that I'm not being true to myself. I'm just being I'm being a watered down version, right? Or I'm meeting that person where they're at so that I'm not turning them off or turning them away. Does that make sense? That's another really good skill set, particularly for listing appointments when you go, because generally speaking, if there is a couple or there are partners, you're gonna have one that is likely the high I, one that's the high D, or vice versa, right? And so I need to know who's who so I can communicate accordingly to each of them, right? If I have a wife that's a high D, this would bother me, and salespeople do this to Steve and I all the time. You're out shopping this weekend for spas, and they kept directing everything towards him, and I'm like, I know I'm short, but I'm not invisible, and that bothers me. And that probably would if you're in a listing appointment with, someone who's a high I, if you're just direct, or a high D rather, if you're just directing all of your time and attention towards one person. So take those, study those. I'm telling you, that was one of the instrumental things that really changed the whole dynamic of how I hold open houses and do open houses, okay? Be consistent. As a new agent, holding open houses is the fastest and most cost-effective way to do business because I'm not really spending any money other than my initial investment in signs. And oh, by the way, I highly recommend, yes, we have open house signs here that you can use and that you can check out like a library book, and we like to do that for the newer agents until they have a closing or two. so that they've got something that they can use, but please, for the love of God and all that is holy, go and get your own as soon as possible. And why do I suggest that? Who can tell me?
A lot of them.
A lot of them, as many as possible. Why?
Because
Branding. If you are going to take the time to invest and spend time on your weekend holding open houses and having signs out, why on God's green earth would you not want your name out there on that sign? And this became very apparent to me one Sunday walking out of church. A neighbor lady chased me down literally in the parking lot. Erin, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm like, Erin, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. She's like, I just have to compliment you on all the success that you're having in real estate. I see your signs everywhere. And I looked to my left and I looked to my right. And I'm thinking inside, she's talking to me. She's talking to me. Like, I had been in the business a couple months. I had had one listing. I wasn't crushing it by any means, but in her mind I was, because she saw my signs out every single weekend without fail in front of houses on the street corner, and she just assumed that I was doing business everywhere. And she said, I'm thinking about getting in real estate. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And oh, by the way, my sister needs an agent she's looking to sell. Will you talk to her? I said, absolutely. I wasn't about ready to correct her that I wasn't crushing it, right? I mean, we always have to be honest. We can't be telling tall tales. But I sure as heck wasn't about ready to correct her that I wasn't crushing it. I let her continue to believe that I was. So I met with her sister and we listed the house and she bought one. So that ended up turning into 2 deals. So point or moral of the story rather is go out there and get signs with your name. Right? Get your name branded. I happen to have one of those fun last names with the duck in it, so people just remember it. And we have fun with it, right? Take your last name if there's something fun that you can do with it. Once a duck word, call us, we'll show you. And then Zach came on board and started saying, call us, because we give a duck. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know about that one. People love it. They love it and they remember it. They remember it, call us, join the flock, or call us because we give a flock. I mean, it's just, I'm like, what? And I was really scared that he was going to polarize, particularly like the older clientele. No, they remember it. So if you've got a fun name like that, or you can do some kind of pun or spin off, use it to your advantage. It's amazing how people remember. All right, here's the other thing. And this is where most agents will fall off when it comes to open houses. The open house is a big fat failure. No one comes through. And you just have to get okay with the fact that not every single open house that you hold is going to be flooded with people. But could you still look at it as a success? Why?
You better be taking videos and marketing.
You got your signs out anyway.
That's what I was looking for, right? Your signs are out there. Does the general public know that your open house is a big fat flop? No. Is it still time well spent if A, you're in a home, you're getting to know another piece of the inventory in the local market, and your signs are out there and you're getting exposure. So once I figure that out, my signs go up very early on the days that I hold open houses, and they come down later in the day, with the exception of the one that's right out front of the house, right? Because you don't want people showing up early to the open house. Or I would take one of those extra riders and hang it from the sign that said open 12 to 2, so that they would know the open house time, right? Now here's what you need to be careful of. I've lost lots of signs over the years because of that, method. You want to know what the rules are within the city that you're holding the open house, right? Like you're not supposed to be putting signs up in the median. I mean, that common sense, I hope, hopefully, tells you that. I did it a few times. Maybe I want common sense from time to time, but it's a really highly trafficked area. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes, but also expect that you might have a sign that ends up missing. Go check with the city. They have a whole yard full of signs that they have that people typically don't know exist. So the other thing is holding open houses on holiday weekends. I learned this one by mistake, right? I had the experienced agents in my office who were more than willing to give me their listings to hold open on 4th of July, Easter weekend, Mother's Day weekend, Father's Day weekend, and they all looked at me like I was nuts. But when I said to you guys, when I decided to pick one thing and fully commit, I fully committed. I did open houses my first year in the business every single weekend without fail, unless I was out of town for some reason. every single holiday weekend. They all thought I was nuts. And then I started to recognize a pattern. And what I recognized was on those holiday weekends, my ability to pick up clients was exponential. And why do you think that was?
Nobody else was hosting.
Nobody else was hosting them, or the ones that were hosting them were who? All the newbies, right? Because the mega agents and the rainmakers were up at the cabin on the 4th of July, or they were visiting mom on Mother's Day. And I do think you still need to visit mom on Mother's Day. But they were out living life, like doing their thing. They've already paid their dues, their business is already going. And so the other agents that I was competing against for that open house traffic were other new agents. I was a new agent, but I was a more experienced agent because I had been doing open houses every single weekend, and they were doing them whenever they, felt they could fit it into their schedule, right? And please know I'm not passing any judgment on anyone who's not doing them consistently every single weekend. That was what the path I chose, right? That was the path I chose. But I'm going to share with you, I was coaching a young agent one time and she came in. Well, rather she called me and she said, Erin, she's like, I'm just really frustrated. Nothing I'm doing is working. Would you mind sitting down with me and can I just have a private coaching session? I said, absolutely, come on in, Amber. So Amber sat down and I said, okay, tell me about your frustration. She's like, well, I can't pick up any business. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I'm just not getting any traction. And I said, well, what is it that you're doing to pick up business? Like, what kind of lead generation have you been doing? She's like, well, I do open houses. I said, okay. So how did your open house go this last weekend? I think this was on a Monday. She said, well, I did do an open house this last weekend. I said, okay. I said, tell me why. And she said, we had a family wedding to go to. And I said, okay, makes sense, right? We have to have family first, right? Not family business, whatever your plan is, but we've got to have balanced lives. So, okay, I said, I get it. I said, how about the weekend before that? How'd your open house go? I said, well, my daughter's in dance and I run around, all day on Saturday and Sunday was really just kind of like my only family day to spend with the family, so I didn't do one last weekend. I said, okay, how about the weekend before that? Yeah, I didn't do one that weekend either. I said, Amber, when was the last time you did an open house? Well, it's been a little while, but I'm just busy with the kids. And I said, okay, I get it. I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of tough love here, right? I've got to give you, some care and candor. Otherwise, I'm just going to love you right out of business if I'm not candid with you, right? And I said, we all have stuff. We all have families. And if it's important enough to you, you will find the time, right? It just means maybe that you have to be a little bit more purposeful with your time and your schedule and how you're scheduling things. You can still hold open houses. They're 2 hours long, and literally if you're purposeful about it, what I did was I live in Lakeville. I would try and find an open house in Lakeville because I knew pretty much any house that I was going to hold open was within a 10-minute drive, right? So by the time I got my signs out, got to my open house, held it, and got home, I'm maybe 3 hours in. I would venture to say that if you really tried, most weekends, you could carve out 3 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday. Most weekends, not every weekend, but most weekends you probably could. Are you maybe gonna have to give some things up here and there to do that on a consistent basis? Yeah, but it's like any other work schedule that you've ever had in your life, right? Those are your hours for work. And when you share those hours for work with your family, what happens? Something really magical. They begin to respect it, right? Sorry, honey, I can't go to whatever, that mommy works from, 12 or 11 to 1 or 11 to 2 on Saturdays, right? Or it's going to be working every other Saturday. Maybe it's not every Saturday. Maybe it's not every Sunday. Maybe what you're going to do is commit to 2 open houses a month. But you're going to commit to that all in. Nothing's going to get in the way of you doing at least 2. And with the proper planning, it can be done. Because I was doing 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday every single weekend without fail. Was my husband unhappy? Yeah. But I told him, get used to it. This is my new schedule. And I need your support because I supported you and now it's your turn to support me. And I promise you, if you support me in this and just allow me to be consistent in this it doesn't have to be forever, but for a short time, then at some point I'm going to be able to dial it back and not have to do 2 every Saturday and 2 every Sunday. I only had to do that for a year. Question.
We were talking a lot about Saturday and Sunday open houses.
Can you share some experience of weekday open houses that you might have had, or have you done that?
I would do broker opens.
Okay.
So up in the cities on Tuesdays after team meetings, people will go on tour. I don't know if they do that down here. Do they do that down here?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
They go on tour and I would usually get like a lender to sponsor lunch at a new listing of mine and we'll broker open. I'm gonna be honest, I've never done like the Twilight. I want to, I think it sounds like fun. It's just that I took a different path and I always thought, oh, I wanna try like a Thursday night from 4 to 6, catch people on the way home, wine and cheese kind of thing or whatever. I just never did because the weekend was just my thing. I think you should. I think you should mix it up and try the different times and things of that nature. Have you had good experience doing that?
I've had the best experience.
Share. Philip.
So in my first year in real estate, I was in Mankato when I was an actual agent. And I held a lot of other people's open houses. I worked with a lot of luxury agents that had, high price dollar homes. So I thought that's awesome. I can pick up, really high end buyers. Some of those listings were on the market for a long time, and I held a lot of empty open houses. So I started learning, for me, the best ones to ask for other agents were where the most buyers are in that market. And then Saturdays and Sundays, again, not always everyone wants to go and do that. They're at the pool with their kids, they're doing that, they're getting to the grocery store, they're whatever it might be. And I found that Thursdays from 4 to 6, or 3 to however long, but I like to keep them like hour and a half to 2 hours max. So people know to come to mine because it's not as long. But I also did it on a Tuesday, right before a holiday that was on a Thursday. That week was the 4th of July. I had a whole bunch of people through and just flagging the neighborhood with your signs. And I'm not an expert. I'm here because I want to learn more. I just wanted to share that with you guys because I found it was very, very successful, especially if you're doing the online marketing, make sure you get that out there maybe a week in advance.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, I mean, I say invest in as many signs as your budget will allow. I put out probably 10 to 12 signs, whether I need 10 to 12 or not. I'll double them up sometimes on a street corner just to get my name out there. Duckworth every single weekend. All right, so the other thing that happened was not only was I competing against other new-ish agents, and I was the more experienced newer agent because I was holding so many. What kind of buyers do you think are out on holiday weekends?
Serious buyers.
Right? Because otherwise they're up at the cabin or they're visiting mom for Mother's Day. So what I found was the really serious buyers are out on holiday weekends because they have to be. They're on the hunt. They gotta find something. So on my holiday weekends, man, I would clean house. I would hold opens every single holiday weekend that people had available, and they all thought I was nuts, and they were happy to give them to me. So I'm not saying you have to go every single holiday weekend, just food for thought. All right, then I started to become very strategic in the open houses that I would select, right? So I would choose a price range that I knew a lot of active buyers were in. It's fun, it's sexy to say, I'm holding a $400, $500 million listing open, right? And you should at some point do that, okay? Because there are buyers and sellers to pick up there as well. And I shied away from that as a new agent because I thought I'm not experienced enough until I just realized one morning, you know what? They put their pants on the same way I do every morning, one leg at a time. They're the same as me. They just happen to have a little bit more money in the bank or, whatever the case may be. But I would pick price points that I knew were very active. And those were usually first-time home buyer price points. And I don't know about you, Lauren, you had a couple big deals as well. Those folks are nice. I love working with those first-time home buyers.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, because I was always the kind of agent who took the time to educate them, and not all agents do, right? So they were super appreciative, but they appreciate everything. And they're hungry for information. So they're like sponges. And they're so excited and grateful to be buying their first home versus the upper end clients are a little bit more selective in what they're looking for, right? And their expectations are greater. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're very kind people as well, but sometimes they can be a little bit more difficult. So I love working with first time home buyers, and I would intentionally seek out certain price points, or I would intentionally seek out newly listed properties, so new to the market, right? Because everybody wants to get into the new listing, or homes that had a recent price reduction. Because what happens typically when we do a price reduction? Activity, right? We get more showings, all right? I would also want to make sure that the online presence was good. Did the photographs really depict the house in its best light possible? You guys have all seen the pictures that people take with their cell phone. You can see them standing in the bathroom mirror, the agent holding the phone, or for goodness sakes, there's just stuff all over the floor. You're like, what were you thinking, right? So I wanted to make sure that the online presence was good. And then what I would do when I was doing the 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday is I would attempt to secure open houses that were in and around the same area and similar price points. Because what would happen is Heather would come to my open house and she'd say, yeah, it doesn't have that, master walk-in closet that I'm looking for. And I'll be like, oh, darn it. Okay, other than that, Heather, the house is pretty perfect. Okay. So I'm done with this open house at 1 o'clock today, and I'm actually holding another one about a half a mile from here that starts at 2. It has that walk-in master closet. I really think you should come by and take a peek at it because I think it may meet all your needs. Would you like the address? And then I would try and get them to come to my next open house, or find a partner to partner up with. When my husband then got to the business, we would both hold open houses at the same time in the same area, similar price point, and we would ping people back and forth, right? If you don't have someone that you can do that with, you can use the method of, I'm closing my open house at 1 o'clock today. I could meet you there at 1:15. Would that be helpful for you? Okay. Any questions on that?
No, I like that one better because I've been holding a couple of open houses, for the past few months, until last weekend. And every time I had a lot of traffic coming through, but it's just that I'd be holding back to contact them on Monday. So when I try to contact them on Monday, there's no response. But when they're at the open house, they're always like, yeah, give me a call. Oh yeah, we were down, yeah, let's go through the process. But every time when I call them, text them, email them, no return, they don't respond to email. Or when I call them, they'll be like, yeah, you know what, we're thinking about it, we're not ready yet. So that's why I ask you, should I make that one right on the spot?
Absolutely.
If you can.
Yeah, have your schedule there with you. Absolutely. And here's how it becomes relatively easy to do that. It's by knowing the inventory. Know the inventory. So my 4 sons, you guys, most of you know, are all in the business, okay? And they all got to the business in their very early 20s, okay? And they look young because they're in their early 20s. They are young, right? And so when I say, how did your open house go? Or how's your lead generation going? I got the victim mentality a lot. And it was like, well, nobody wants to work with me, Mom, so it looks like I'm still up behind the years. Or, I just graduated from high school. And I said, yeah, and how are you going to overcome that? Well, I don't know. Like, I can't, age myself overnight. I don't know. And I said, no, so if there was one thing that you could do so as to they wouldn't stop to consider your age or think that you're inexperienced, what would that be?
Know your product.
Know the inventory. Because if you come up from a place, and I've done this before, I've been the judgy, walking into, going to look for something, and some young kid walks up to me and I'm thinking, no, right? I've been guilty of that myself. But here's where they'll win me over every single time. If they know the inventory or they know the product that I'm looking for inside and out, all of a sudden their age becomes a non-issue with me, right? Because I'm looking for experience, I'm looking for confidence, and I'm looking for someone who can advise, protect, and educate me, right? And I feel like they know their stuff, age is no longer a concern for me. It's no longer a concern for me. So I would tell them, go out and preview the inventory. So what I would do is on Monday, when I picked up my open house, let's say it was in Lakeville at 2:50, then at some point that week, I would go and I would preview everything from 240 to 260 in Lakeville. When I say everything, it was maybe 8 houses, maybe. If you did that on a Monday and found your open house, do you think that by Friday you could go preview 8 open houses? How long does it take to preview a home? A lot less time than it does to show one. You're literally unlocking, walking through, and you're out of there in under 5 minutes, right? And so what I would do is I would go out and I would preview the inventory so that when open house day came and they said it lacks the 3rd stall garage, It lacks the 4th bedroom upstairs. It lacks the walk-in master closet. I would say, oh, well, let me tell you about the house 2 miles away. And oh, by the way, I can schedule a private showing there at 2:00. Would you like to meet me there? Would that be helpful for you, right? So how you get rid of that is knowing your market in your inventory like no one else. How else do you suppose, other than looking online, because that's free, by the way, that only costs us what? Our time, right? So when the kids were in bed at night, I was on the computer. I was looking at the inventory. I was creating hot sheets. I was looking and paying attention to what was coming on the market that was new, right? And so then I would go out and I would go on broker tour. I would go and preview homes so that when they came to my open house that weekend, whatever their objection was, I was usually able to overcome it with some sort of property that I could entice them with or a carrot that I could dangle. But besides going into MLS and besides previewing homes, how else can you become aware of properties to potentially show buyers or entice them with? What other ways?
Pre-listings that you might have, or your office might have.
Networking, right? Networking. You all are part of our closed Facebook group, or you should be. Everyone's in there, right? Yeah? Okay. Please pay attention to that. It's full of really good, important information and content. I encourage people, if you have a pre-list, please put it in there. Oh, by the way, you guys are part of our closed regional North Central Facebook page. Do you think that people up in the cities may have folks that are looking down here in this area from time to time? Yeah, we're kind of on our own little island here, which I think is really cool, right? Because you have hundreds of Keller Williams agents up in the cities who on occasion will need or have a buyer or seller need down in this area. And who do you think they're gonna think of? This office, right? So don't get me started on how important it is to go up and travel to some trainings and all that kind of good stuff and network. It is, okay, that's for another day. But networking, use our closed North Central region closed Facebook group, use our closed office Facebook group and post a buyer need. I have a buyer. This is what they're looking for. There's nothing like it on the market right now. Does anybody have anything coming soon? Or I have a listing coming soon. Here are the specs on it, right? So if I'm able to, and I'm really active and good about making sure that I'm networking with people at open houses, I would say, you know what? There's not anything currently on the market that has exactly what you're looking for. But I was just networking with an agent in the office earlier this week, and I'm pretty sure that they have a pre-list coming on. Would you like to leave your name, your number, and your email, and I'll get that information and share it with you? How easy do you think it was for me to get their contact information at that point? Does everyone want the one thing that they can't have or that they don't have access to? So that brings me to sign-in sheets. Who uses them? Okay, I've done both. I've not used them. I've used them. I've not used them. I've used them. I would say, as of right now, today, may change, I don't use them. And here's why. I always kind of try to look at it from the perspective of how would I feel, right? And I don't like to feel forced into leaving information that I'm not maybe yet willing to leave with you, because I'm just meeting you, right? And so my thought process was, if they want to leave their information, they can, or they'll take my card, or they'll willingly give it to me. But if I'm gonna say, and this is a script, and guys, this is the way that I choose to conduct my business. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, there's not, because again, I have failed forward, I've tried it all. There are some people who will say, and I think I've probably used this tactic before in the past, for security purposes, the seller requires that everyone register, right? Now, do you think that everybody gives their accurate information when they register, if they're being forced to register? No. And so my thought process is, if you're gonna leave your name, your phone number, your email, and you do it willingly, chances are I'm getting accurate information, and chances are you really do wanna be contacted after my open house, right? Here's the other thing that I want to advise you of, okay? Timber broker's not in the room, I saw him standing outside, so I think I'm safe. Just kidding, I know I'm being videotaped, but. So we are required per our ethics, if we are aware that someone else is working with another agent, to what? To disclose it, but we as agents, so you're coming through my open house, I don't know whether you're working with another agent, but as soon as I find out that you are, what do I have to do? Back off, okay? Have you guys ever gone shopping and someone has approached you and said, hi, are you looking for anything in particular? Just looking, right? That's me, 99% of the time. Even if I know what I want, I just wanna go get my thing and get out, right? I don't need to hear the whole pros, cons, whatever, I just want my thing, I wanna get out. So when you go through an open house, and if the first thing you say is, so, are you working with anyone? What do you think they're gonna say?
Yes.
Just looking, right? It's their version of just looking. Yes, whether they are or they aren't. The same with open house registrations that have, are you currently working with a realtor? Now, if you have them put in writing, yes, then what?
You can't follow up.
You can't follow up. And they're going to put yes, whether they're working with someone or not. So stop asking that question. Don't ask it. Don't have it on your forms. I'm not saying don't pay attention to the signs of they are working with someone, or if they tell you that they are, back off. But stop putting them into the position to where they're going to say they are when they're not. Because as soon as you get that information, it's hands off. Or sometimes I'll have someone come to an open house and Ashley will say, well, I'll say, Ashley, that's one of the reasons why I asked the question. How are you finding out about, how did you happen to find out about today's open house?
Found online.
How did you happen to see it online? Were you searching on our website or?
Just looking around on different real estate websites.
Okay, or she might say, my realtor sent it to me. So,
My realtor sent it to me.
oh, okay, so are you working with a realtor?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been working with them?
Just a little while.
Okay, who are you working with? When they're not working with someone, they can't answer that question, right? So then I might say, okay, so, say you're working with an agent, are they sending you properties or have you actually signed a contract with an agent?
Sending properties.
Okay, she's not working with an agent. She's still open, fair game. Unless she tells me she's signed and is working with an agent, I'm gonna continue to have dialogue with her and try and get a second appointment with her. Now, she's like, well, yeah, I'm signed with an agent, they won't say I'm under an exclusive right to represent, they don't know what that word is. But I sometimes will say, if I feel like we're really vibing and we're making a connection and they've told me they're working with someone, I'll say, just out of curiosity, have you actually signed with a real estate agent? Are you formally represented? Okay, but don't lead with that question. Those questions only come out of my mouth if there's something that they said that lead me to believe that they might be working with someone. Because if they are, number one, I want to follow the rules. Remember, I'll stretch them, so I'll ask the extra questions, but I won't break them. And if I'm in an open house that's really busy and she is under contract with someone, I want to go and spend time trying to build a relationship with the other 6 people in my house right now. And I'm going to say, hey, Ashley, go for it. Got any questions? Holler. Right? Because I'll be there to answer questions, but I'm not going to spend time trying to plant seeds and build a relationship with someone who already is in one with someone else. Does that make sense? Okay. I feel like I'm
I
getting a
will
little
always,
preachy.
if somebody is working with an agent and they tell me who it is, I always call that agent after
Yeah,
they're open. And say, hey, just so
absolutely.
you know, your buyers are through.
Love it. Love it. They seem to like the house or, whatever.
It's usually Erin Jones and that's like every buyer ever, but
He's a go-getter.
yeah, he is.
All right, so make sure you gather your tools. We talked about colored flyers with your picture, your contact information on them. Yes, it's okay for you to put your picture and your contact information on them and hand them out to people coming through your open house, okay?
Can you leave your card behind?
I would take your card, anything with your information on it with you when you leave the house, because if it's someone else's listing, there's no need for your card to be there. I'm handing them out. I want to get rid of them, right? My goal when I was a new agent was to give out 25 cards a day. I don't care if I went to go pump gas and I just left it on the gas counter, or I went through the grocery store and I said, hey, here, if you're ever looking for a real estate agent, my goal was to give out 25 a day. Okay, it's way easier than you think. Think about it. Yeah, did you guys, let's see, let's talk about your mornings this morning. Anyone stop and fill up with gas on their way in today? One person. Anyone stop and grab coffee? Okay. Anyone run quick to the grocery store? No? Drop off dry cleaning? Take the kids to school? Go to the gym? We're in a million different places, you guys, right? And so what I want you to do is I want you to start training yourself to think about every single interaction you have with anyone in public is an opportunity. It's an opportunity. Taking my kids to the zoo for the afternoon, that's a whole lot of opportunities. I'm probably gonna run into several different points of contact with people throughout the day, okay? Don't be a secret agent. Please wear a name tag or I used to wear my name tag everywhere. I'm Catholic, we were in Mass one Sunday. Anyone else in here Catholic, you know what the sign of peace is, peace be with you, right? So it's a thing we do during Mass, peace be with you, right?
You slipped in the card.
No. So you see where I'm going. So this was before my husband was in the business. And let's just say that life got much easier when he decided to get licensed because he was used to me supporting him in his career and having dinner on the table. He's not a caveman. He's not one of those who's like, dinner will be ready when I get home. It's just what I did because I could, because I had the time. And so when I got into real estate, I just lived and breathed it because I loved it. And so I was like my own walking billboard, man. I was name tag everywhere. It didn't matter where I was going. So it was Sunday. I do open houses on Sunday, so naturally I'm going to put it on as I go to church because I had an open afterwards. So we have this little thing when we do the sign of peace, and he'll kind of pull me in and give me like a little peck, peace be with you. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to give my little peck, and he looks down and he sees my name tag, and he pulls me in and he's like, really, Erin? Really? I was like, what? Open house afterwards. So I would wear my, he needs I tell that story. I would wear my name tag everywhere, and I still will sometimes, and I got the fun ones with all the bling around it, because I'm a bling girl. Bling is my favorite color, if bling was a color. And then I thought, okay, he came from the corporate world before he got into real estate. So it was like shirt, jacket, tie. And I'm like, you just relax. You make me nervous. I know you're making our clients nervous. Like, can you just maybe try being a little bit more relaxed? And there are occasions where I think that is appropriate in certain situations. But what we did was we started getting him buttoned down, long sleeve, polo, collared shirts that had, Team Duckworth, Keller Williams, whatever on them. And what I noticed was when we were outside of the presence of our clients is that on occasion, he would get stopped and say, oh, are you in real estate? And so then a light bulb went off, and I realized, or at least my interpretation was, that people felt like he was more approachable when he wasn't wearing a name tag, like, hi, I am Steve, I'm in real estate, like I was doing. But when it was just kind of like on a jacket or on a shirt or whatever, kind of like, think about this. Have you guys ever been in the need? This has happened to me several times in this summer because we put on a deck and we put in a patio and I need an electrical guy. And there are other people that are having work done in the neighborhood, and I'm driving out of the neighborhood and I see an electrical company contractor van, and I stop and I take a picture so I can call them later, right? I think when people see you out in public and you're not like on the job, that for whatever reason, they feel you're more approachable. And so what I tell people is another very inexpensive way for you to market yourself is to go and buy a Keller t-shirt, a Keller polo, a button down. I love Costco, I love Sam's Club, especially in the spring and the fall. They have jackets for like $12, and they're really nice, good quality jackets. And then I go and I take them in and I get our logo and Keller Williams on the front and Team Duckworth on the back, and I wear those things everywhere. Be your own walking billboard. When the boys were little and played baseball, and they would say, hey, we need a parent to volunteer to put together the treat list. My hand was always the first that went up. And why do you think that was?
Access to information.
What am I getting?
Database.
Contacted.
Of everyone. I'm getting all the parents' names, emails, phone numbers, all of them. So I was very happy to put together the treat list. And when I emailed out the treat list, where do you think I emailed it from? My personal or my business email? Yeah, absolutely. And then I would go and I'd get a case of water for $3. I'd peel off all the labels. I'd go to Office Max, buy labels, make my own, put them on the water bottles. And everybody knew at every single baseball game that I had cold water if they were thirsty. I said, absolutely, help yourself. Take one for your friend too, right? Just get creative. Don't be that secret agent. Don't be afraid to put the word out there. Don't be afraid to volunteer for things. Okay, all right. How I got on that tangent. Name tag, business cards, open house registration, or notepad, yes or no, depends on you. You have to make that decision. And if you want, bring a laptop to open houses. I don't, unless Steve and I are doing one together and I have to do some business while we're doing open houses. I try to give the open house my full attention when I'm there. What I will do instead is I will print a list of alternative inventory homes that are for sale, and I only have one list because inevitably someone will say, well, can I take that? And I'll say, no, but you can leave your email. I'm happy to email it to you after this because this is my only copy, right? If you have your laptop with you, you have the whole access that they can, look at over your shoulder, right? Which is fine. Some people will say, hey, you know what? Since I've got my laptop here, why don't you just give me your email and I'll shoot this over to you real quick so that you've got it. Or what you guys have that not everyone does is you have an app and you can say, you know what? What's your phone number? I'm going to share with you a link to my app. I do that at open houses all the time because you know what that does? That marries them to you. They now have the app and say, this is a one-stop shop where you can go to and look at all properties. You don't need to go out to 20 different websites anymore because my app will have every single property available for you to look at. And oh, by the way, if there's something that you like, you just hit a little button, it notifies me and I can schedule a showing. Okay? All right. Advertise early, we talked about that. I would get my open house on Monday. I would immediately post it on MLS. And then, or if I was holding for someone else, I would ask them to do it for me. And then I would go and post it on all my social media sites. And I didn't put it on my business page. Who has a business page on Facebook? Pretty much we all do. Why? I don't know, because I was told it was important to have one. I hardly have any engagement on that thing. All of my engagement is on my personal page. All of it. And so I would post my open houses on my personal page, and here's why. If I'm just always real estate, and I'm already kind of a lot of real estate on my personal page, but if I'm always real estate, what's going to happen? If people aren't looking, they're going to start to tune me out, right? So it's got to be a good mix of your personal stuff as well as your business stuff, right? Sometimes I get a little business heavy, I'm like, okay, I got to post something different, right? People are going to start tuning me out. I have a business page because I think consumers sometimes just think that you need one. I don't know that anyone really ever goes to that. Most of my engagement is on my personal page, and I like to have fun, right? People want to do business with people that have fun. I do. I want to do business with people that have fun. And I'm always talking about real estate. And a good example of why this is important is I graduated from high school years ago in '87, okay? And it was in Illinois. And a year or so ago, some guy who I knew in high school but didn't know well, I recognized his name, reached out to me via Facebook. And he said, hey, my grandmother has just passed away. She left her house to me and my brother, and we need to sell it. Can you help me? I don't even know if he realized that I was in Minnesota and no longer in Illinois. But in his mind, I was the one that came to mind because he sees me post about real estate from time to time. So my goal is anyone who I'm friends with, when they're thinking about real estate, that they think of who? Me, right? And so I said, absolutely, I can help you. Let me put you in contact with one of my team members. I didn't say, let me call an agent in your area and try and find someone for you. I said, let me put you in contact with one of my team members because we have a Keller Williams office in the area. And even if we didn't, they'd still be a team member, but it's even easier when we do. Because as another Keller Williams agent, regardless of what state they're in, a team member of mine, heck yeah. We have over 180,000 team members at Keller Williams. We really do. We have the largest real estate network in the world that we're a part of and we can tap into. So he sold his house and I got a referral fee. That happens to me probably 6 times a year. Just people randomly will reach out. You gotta take off? All right, good luck with your appointment. Okay, so advertise early, often, everywhere. If you're feeling extra motivated, go out and door knock a couple of blocks around your open house, right? Statistics say that when one home goes on the market, at least 2 others within the next 90 days within a 1-mile radius will do the same. So even if it's a neighbor, people are like, why do I want to go door knock for an open house to a neighbor? They're already in the neighborhood. But you never know who they may know that's thinking about buying or selling or wants to be in the neighborhood. Or they might be thinking, hey, my name's Erin, I'm gonna hold the open house, I don't know if you saw my signs, a couple doors down, gonna be there from 12 to 2 today. Would love for you to come in and just maybe give me some feedback that I could share with the sellers on what you think about the house and price. I'm sure that it might be nice for you to be able to pick your new neighbors or to give an opinion on price. You know the neighborhood better than anyone, you live here. You can speak to the amenities, the people, whatever, all right? Okay, talked about putting signs out early, hang open house riders. You can also get on the phone and circle prospect, call people, let them know about the open house and that it's coming. We talked about making previewing homes a part of your daily routine. Get out there and preview. Buddy up with someone. You know, go for a couple hours in the morning and then go grab lunch and mastermind. I don't know. You know, it doesn't have to be boring and it doesn't have to take you very long. We talked about researching MLS for current actives and the price range you're holding open. Know your competition. I also would search for recent sales because you're always going to get that person who comes into your open house and says, hey, well, what did that house 4 doors down sell for? And that's happened to me before where I'm like, I don't say that, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know if that's closed yet. Why don't you leave your name and email there and I'd be happy to shoot you some information after the open house if you'd like, or I'll just pull out my phone. I mean, I could pull out my phone and find it, but is that really what I want to do? I want to get their contact information. I want to have a reason to follow up with them when we're done, okay? Also, please familiarize yourself with the schools attached to the home and any neighborhood amenities. This is another fail forward moment. I was holding an open house in a neighborhood that had a swimming pool. Didn't know. Had no idea. Why? Because I didn't do my homework ahead of time. I didn't go preview the neighborhood and drive around ahead of time. And someone walked in and talked about the pool neighborhood. I'm like, oh yeah, that pool. Be happy to send you some information on that, right? Know the schools because, again, what do people want to do when they're choosing someone to work with? They want to know that they're in the hands of who? Professional, that knows the area, that knows their stuff, right? So, gosh, in Lakeville, D.R. Horton, they're still building in Lakeville. We have several builders there, but D.R. Horton in particular, I knew those homes really well because I lived in one at one time. And so, like Lakeville, it was like taking candy from a baby if I ran into somebody because I knew the area so well, I knew the neighborhood so well, I knew what builders were in each neighborhood. I knew the models of the builders in each neighborhood. And again, it was about taking time to just really study and know that inventory. So if someone called me, they say, yeah, we live in Stonebrook. I'm like, oh, D.R. Horton, which model are you in? The Williamsburg? Oh, awesome, I love the master bedroom in the Williamsburg. It's so huge. What's one of your favorite things about it? Like immediately you have them and they feel confident in your ability because you're speaking to the home that they're living in with, you know, just giving you an address. All right, morning of the open house. Talked about putting signs out early. Dress the part, project a professional image. I say business casual. You know, if I'm doing an upper end home, I might dress it up just a little extra. I might zhuzh it up a little bit. Zhuzh it up. Arrive 15 minutes early to set the stage. I have been guilty of pulling up with seconds to spare, screeching, you know, up to the curb, grabbing all my stuff. There's cars lined up and everyone's like right behind me as I'm unlocking. And that just stresses me out. And it's not a good way to start your open house. So I like to arrive, doesn't have to be 15 minutes early. Arrive with plenty of time to get there, put your signs out, unlock, set the stage, turn on the lights, put on some music, whatever the case may be. When I was new, I would make it a point to go and preview the home before I held it open to become familiar with it. Okay? Don't forget to put out your business cards and your flyers. Okay? You're open for business, now what? Greet each person with a warm welcome and eye contact if you can. I've been in those open houses before where it literally is a revolving door. And so it's hard sometimes to do that because you don't want to be rude if you're in the middle of a conversation with someone to stop and greet people. But I try to, you know, I'll say welcome and then get back to the conversation. This is where it's really important to know this disc well. When you have those really busy open houses, I'm dividing and conquering. I am like literally like a soldier on a mission. I'm trying to determine, you know, who is a viable person for me to create a relationship with and who's already working with an agent or not very interested, and that's where I'm spending my time. So the better versed you are in this disc and the different personalities, the easier time you're gonna have being able to figure that out, okay? I would do a quick needs analysis. I would ask questions like, so what brings you out? And that might reveal, well, I've got my house sold, or I'm moving to the area, or I'm starting a new job. That may help you with a sense of urgency, okay? offer to provide the information on the alternative homes that you have. And then here is the thing that I've been in the business for a few years at this point, and my husband, who is a very high D, one time we were in conversation with this couple, and things were going well, and I'm asking like my normal regular questions that will kind of like, you know, reel them in a little bit and get that next appointment, and they just weren't, you know, grabbing hold of any of them. And I was starting to get frustrated. I'm thinking, man, I think that we're vibing and this is going well, but you know, I'm trying to get that appointment, right? And I was playing the Minnesota Nice card. And my husband just said, well, you know, we would love to be your realtors and do business with you. Would you like to work with us? And I was like, ooh. Like, I just got super uncomfortable, like, oh my God, that was so awkward. And they're like, you know what, you're the first agent that's asked us that. We've been through 3 other open houses today, and yeah, we need to hire an agent. We'd love to work with you. I was like, oh, so it is that easy. You just have to ask the question. You just literally have to ask the question. And so now the question that I pose a lot, whether I'm in a recruiting appointment or I'm on a listing appointment or I'm at open house with a buyer, is I might say, so what would make it a no-brainer for you to partner with me? What would make it a no-brainer? What's important to you? First of all, ask what's important to them. What's important to you in the next brokerage that you're gonna go to? What's important to you in the agent that's gonna list your home? What's most important to you in the company that's gonna be behind you? And then try and overcome those objections and end it with, is there anything else that would make it a no-brainer for you to want to partner with me on this? Just ask the question, just try it. It's crazy, it works. All right. Watch out for creepers. Guys, put that in there, right? We always have to be cognizant of our surroundings, and I've only had to call the police once at an open house, and it was because I caught a woman trying to steal prescription drugs out of the homeowner's house. But, you know, let people know what your plan is. Let them know you're holding an open house at this address from this time to this time. Check in with them before, check in with them after. The reason why I'm a fan of previewing houses before I hold them open is because I want to get an idea for the layout, or arriving early before there are people lined up, you know, ready to walk in, is because I want to go walk through the basement. If it's a walkout, I'm going to make sure that the patio door is locked, right? I'm going to make sure that that's locked when I leave. And here's my best piece of advice is if you ever have that feeling, and I've had a couple where the hairs just stand up on the back of my neck, listen to and follow your gut instinct. It is okay. And I tell anyone who is going to hold an open house of ours, if you ever at any time feel unsafe or unsure, lock up that open house and go. Call me. I am not going to ask you to stay in an environment where you are not feeling safe, right? So if you ever need to ask someone to leave, or if someone is in the home and you're just extremely uncomfortable, please walk outside and make a phone call and wait until they leave, or call, you know, someone to come and be with you. Don't walk back into that house if you're not feeling comfortable or your gut is telling you something's not right, right? So always put safety first. All right, and here is where you win, ladies and gentlemen. It's in the follow-up, okay? So the two things where most agents lose when it comes to open houses is they give up way before. Oh, I didn't finish my conversation about Amber. Remind me to circle back to that, my coaching session. Where most people lose is they're not being consistent, so they're not really all in. They're telling you they're all in, but they're not really all in, okay? And they may even think they are until you ask a few more questions and they realize that they're not, okay? And the second place where you win is in the follow-up. So I had a routine. Every Sunday evening, without fail, I would look at my open house names, or the names that I got from the open house, and I would set them up in the automated search, right? In the automated search that would start sending them properties. And then I would include myself on that search, right? So I wouldn't just set it and forget it. I would pay attention when new houses came on the market, and I would open it up and I would look at it, and I might say, hey Mo, there's a new house that came on today, 123 Maple. You should take a peek at it. I think it's exactly what you're looking for. I've got time today, if over lunch you do, to go and just run a quick look at it, right? Let them know that you're staying on top of it and that they're not just a number. Like, engage with them. Doesn't mean that, you know, you have to call them all the time and all of a sudden they feel like, oh, whoa, you know, I gave you my phone number or my email, but like, I don't want you reaching out to me every other day. Yes, thanks for coming. Good to see you. Good luck with your showing. So that was my routine, is I would put them into my database and I would set them up on a search. Okay, I would immediately put them on some kind of drip campaign, and then I would start networking with the agents in my office for the coming soons. And then I would create a follow-up task to follow up with them. What sort of questions do you guys have? Or what are some of your ahas that you're gonna take away from today? Something that you hadn't thought of before, you're like, oh yeah, I think I might wanna implement that, or I think I might wanna try that.
I think just being more consistent, just
Mhm.
trying to host more, for other people is the big thing for me.
It's hard, isn't it? It's so hard. It's so hard. If there's one piece of advice I could leave you guys with is time block. That changed everything for me. Especially when the boys were younger, and my husband was getting used to me being in real estate. Because sometimes, unfortunately, it's necessary for us to take a call at home or work from home or whatever. But family time is also really important to me. So I would make it a point to time block so they knew that when I was home and it wasn't work time, I was really home and I was present. But when it was work time, you know what? You can't come and knock on the door when I'm in my office with the door closed if I'm at home, right? It means I'm working. And what we would do is we would set fun family goals with each other. Like, hey, you guys want to take that trip to Disney? Mommy needs to get 3 more appointments or 3 more closed deals. And I remember coming home one time and Dylan, for those of you who have met him, said, I asked them to hold me accountable to making probably my 25 contacts, my business cards or something like that. And I came home one night and I was like, Mom, how many cards do you have left? And I'm like, I have 3 more cards left. He's like, you need to go back out. You have 25 cards that you have to hand out today. Do you need to go to the grocery store or something? I'll run with you. I'm like, I'm tired. It's been a long day. He's like, you wanted me to hold you accountable to the 25. Like, share your goals with people, whether it's your kids, your spouse, your friend, your parents. Share your goals with people, and you will be surprised that people who love you want to see you win. They want to see you win. And when you start sharing your goals and saying, hey, will you please hold me accountable? Or you come up with something like a mini vacation somewhere, and that's a goal, and the whole family's in on it. Mom's got to, have 2 uninterrupted hours of lead generation so that she can set appointments in order for us to achieve this goal, right? So back to Amber, and then I want to hear a few more ahas, and I'll cut you guys loose. So, wedding, daughter's dance, life is busy, and I think I said, so Amber, when was the last time that you held an open house? And she said, oh, it's probably been about a month. And so I looked at her and I said, well, then you really haven't done everything in your power to lead generate and set appointments for yourself, have you? I know, thanks for coming. Loved your engagement pictures. So gorgeous. Getting married at the end of the month. And sometimes that's not easy to say out loud because you kind of say it and then you hold your breath like, how are you gonna take this? But I think that she knew that it was coming from a place of love because I wanted her to succeed. And if I wasn't willing to be candid with her, I was gonna, what I shared with you guys earlier, love her right out of the business. I could either be her best friend or I could be her coach in that moment. And I think it hit her. And I don't know that she had a whole lot of love for me in that moment. But she came back to me a week later and said, thank you. And I said, for what? She said, for telling me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. You're right. I haven't been giving it my all. I need to start time blocking. I need to start being more purposeful with my time. And either I'm going to fully commit to this business or I'm not. And I am committed and I do want to make a go of it. So what other ahas?
I have a question.
Okay.
So when do you follow up? Like, let's say you have an open house on Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow up on Sunday evening or Monday?
I'm going to give you an answer. It depends. It depends. What kind of need do they have? How immediate is their need? What kind of connection did I make with them? If I felt like it was a good connection and they were ready now, I'm following up right away. I'm not waiting. I'm not doing the Minnesota nice thing anymore. It doesn't mean that I'm not a nice person still, but at the end of the day, it's business. And I like it when my clients become friends, lifelong friends and acquaintances, but I'm there. I have to be there with the mindset of I'm there to conduct business and I'm there to do business, pick up business and create a business. So I say follow up with them immediately, unless there's a good reason for you not to.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you call them, text them, email them?
All of the above. All of the above. I usually will ask them, what's your preference, for communication? Because here's the deal, if you're not following up with them, they're likely going to 2 more open houses that day, or they're gonna run into someone else who will. So if not you, then who, right? You might as well. What else?
I really like the not asking right up front if they're working with someone.
Yeah, let it play out a little bit.
Don't give them the reason to say yes.
Yeah, it might just naturally come out on its own, and when it does, just ask a few more questions just to make double sure, and if that is the case, okay, fine. And then move on to the next. I booby-trapped myself so many times, not asking that question, or asking that question rather, sorry, right away. What else?
And for my opens, I usually schedule them for an hour and a half, but I always leave extra time at the end so that if it's busy and I need to stay, and you always get the people that come in at the last second. But if it's dead, then I'm not sitting there for any
Stuck
longer
there.
than I need to be.
That's not a bad idea either, yeah, that's not a bad idea either. What else? Any best practices you guys wanna share? Who's got an open house schedule for this weekend?
I
Anybody?
will.
You will?
I will now.
I love it. Yay! You guys made my day.
I think this is
I love
gonna be the encouragement to not be so nice
Yeah,
and not wait.
yeah.
I think I've been waiting.
It's analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I don't have the perfect script yet. I don't have a buyer consultation scheduled yet. What if someone walks into my open house and they want me to list their house and I haven't put on a listing yet? Or I don't have a listing presentation. Oh my God, I can't do an open house until I have one.
Well, and just
Right?
for me, I wasn't ordering signs because open house signs, and I should have.
Yes, put it out in the universe. Oh, order those signs. I guarantee you order those signs and all of a sudden you're gonna have, all kinds of business and open houses. You will,
Are
right?
there lighter ones?
Are there lighter ones?
Oh, I know.
Like,
The big Keller Williams metal,
Oh.
those are
Heavy.
heavy.
I have, here's the deal, so my husband got fancy and got these like plastic but they're thick, they're heavy plastic. The metal ones, I mean, they're just, especially in the winter, you can just plop those bad boys in a snowbank, they don't go over. And the ones that he bought are pretty and they're kind of cool, but after a while, the kind of adhesive or whatever comes off the back. Here's what I do though, a tip, they come in individual boxes, save those boxes, and I place those boxes in my trunk and I slide the signs into them individually, they're just always in my trunk, and then it saves all the scratching that happens on those, but yeah. Just is what it is, but stop preparing and planning to plan and prepare, I call it that analysis paralysis.
I'm there.
And I was there, and my husband still sometimes is there, and I have to kick him in the pants and say, just go out and do it. Just go out and do it. And I think that, all of you, any of you who decide after leaving here today to just really truly commit, and I mean fully commit to doing some open houses, even if you just did it for the next 90 days. What we're doing today, what you're working on here and now today will show up in September, October, November. You're working on your Christmas money right now, or whatever, your extra fund money. So the activities that we do today, on average, show up 90 days from now. So you're working on your paychecks for the end of the year, right?
Now, and when we do open houses for other people, one time I paid for the ad and one time I didn't. What's the appropriate thing to do?
I don't know that there's necessarily a norm. I think you just have to decide for yourself. Do you want to be paying for open house ads? Did the agent require that you run an
The
ad
first
and pay
one-
for it?
The first one said, here, you need to run an ad for this and put your name in it. And the second one, she put her name in.
And you pay for it?
I didn't pay for the
Okay, I
second
was
one.
gonna say, I don't know that I would do that.
But the first one I did.
Yeah,
So typically, if you put your name in, you pay for it.
I would say so. I think if your name and your phone number is gonna be out on 123 Maple in the open house, you're the one who's getting
pay
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
when
mean, I
I'm
would.
going out and asking these people, I should be offering, hey, by the way, I'll pay for the ad.
Yeah,
I was
Winona's,
curious, where are you paying
Yeah,
for ads?
yeah.
because
I've never done
I was just gonna say in Winona, it's a little bit different. They still do newspaper ads. When I first got into the business 18 years ago, that's all we did.
Yeah.
And I would spend, a couple $1,000 every month on newspaper ads. I thank the Lord and sweet baby Jesus that up in the cities, they just don't do newspaper ads anymore. It's very rare. In Winona, they still do ads.
I've
every
tried it
weekend.
once, and it was more to appease the seller because it was a tough listing.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
And
Predominantly, most agents just do all of their advertising online and they don't spend money on ads.
Okay.
Yeah.
But smaller community, I guess that's the norm there.
yeah, maybe the small towns, maybe you have to a little bit.
Personally, if I was in the Winona market and they were my listings, I likely would not be running ads. I'd just be doing everything online. That's where most people go. 99.9% of the buyers and sellers are all online.
Online with the MLS.
MLS, your social media, all of that stuff.
Because when you put it in the MLS, it does.
It syndicates to all the
Zillow and all
thousands.
the other-
And that's
Thousands
because
of
the real
websites.
people looking.
That's where 99% of the buyers and sellers are. They don't go to the newspaper anymore. You will get the occasional older crowd where it's important for them. So to your point, she had someone who, it was a difficult listing, it was important to them to have a newspaper ad. I honestly can't remember the last time I ran one. It's probably been 16 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, when I first started in property management back in 2004, it was still very newspaper heavy, you know, even for advertising apartments. We had our newspaper rep that would come through twice a month. And since then, it's
What does
just,
it cost you to run an ad?
I guess about $10
Oh, okay, well.
for the little thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to determine for yourself whether or not you think it makes sense. Try it, don't try it. See what kind of return ROI you get. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, go rock your open houses this weekend. Please share your fun success stories with me. And better yet, share it on our closed Facebook group. Went to Erin's open house class. This is my aha. I implemented it. Here's what happened.
You know, I'm on that, I think I have access to that. I've never really entered it in the private way. Because
Come on up here. Let's make sure.
I have to use the restroom first.
Okay, after the restroom, come on up here.
My big buddy.
You're
thank you. And you're on my to-do list and message today, but can you put me in touch with Dylan to design my marketing stuff?
Oh,
Because Lisa and I
yes,
were
yes,
talking
I was
about
telling
that.
Lisa, so here's the scoop on Dylan. He started a new job today on Jeff Glover's team in Michigan. So, he is a genius when it comes to marketing. So what I told her was, I said, let me talk to Dylan. I don't know how much money Ashley thinks is coming. I said, I don't know how much free time he has right now
Oh, sure.
for side work. But yes, I will share his contact with you right now. I just honestly don't know what that's gonna look like for him, but reach out to him, tell him who you are, that I shared his information with you, and if he can, he will.
And
But this presentation I just did, he created for me.
no, it's good.
I said, I want
Good
some
info.
girl power, you know, because it's me, it's my story, and he came up with the little superhero thing, which I loved. And if it's a matter of creating a couple of simple marketing pieces for you for something in particular, my son Drake can help you.
Well, kind of what I need is just kind of my image, and I kind of know what I want now.
Okay, good.
And so it's just
That
helping,
helps.
needing to flesh that out, you know, for
Okay.
my assignment and
Perfect.
everything.
Good. I just
So-
sent it to you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I talked to him on my way in this morning. He'll be done at 4:00 Michigan time, which will be 3:00 our time. But yeah, just shoot him a message. Just say, hey, got your contact information from your mom today. I understand that you're really great at marketing. Wondering if you would have time to help, and he'll let you know. Okay, my dear.
Okay.
So, you guys have a Winona page, but this is our, what I would call our hub page.
Okay.
You know, this is where the bulk of, not the bulk of, this is where all the office communication flows from. So in addition to getting emails when things are happening in the office, does this look familiar?
No, I've never done that.
Well, we need to change that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in it.
I
So
know I'm
are
in
you
it.
Jenny or Jennifer?
Jennifer. Okay.
Evelyn's. All right, my dear.
Yep,
There
that's
you are,
me.
there you are, there you are. Are you in here already? You've been invited. You weren't in the group. Go get your phone real quick. I think now, do you know where to go to request?
I'm not very savvy.
Well, we are gonna get you there. How about that?
Okay.
So there you go.
All right, thank you, Erin.
Bye, hon.
Yes.
We're gonna be sending out info on like what to pack
Oh,
for
good.
Mega, what to expect for Mega, flight schedules, all of that. We're working on it this week.
I'm so excited.
Uh,
I was talking to my husband, I'm like, I can't believe Sunday I'll be packing.
yes, you will. That came from me and not from the,
Yeah, because I messaged you this morning to say I'm gonna come to your class.
but the group invite should have showed up on there too. It should have came from KW Premier. Do you have another invite in there? Or here, type in KW. And then space Premier.
Was I in yours?
Okay, there's your kid, you wouldn't know that. Invited you, here, I invited you to KW Premier. Join group, now you're in it. So it's the one that says, our wish is your command.
Okay.
We post a lot of updates, classes, training, all that good stuff in there.
Oh,
Okay.
good, because this is
So,
where we're
like-
gonna be able to see some of the,
Yeah.
continuing ed stuff.
Yes, so today at noon, we're doing a live stream, which is gonna talk about 3 simple steps to start using command. So you've probably heard them talking about command in the
Yes.
office. We have, we have all this technology that's rolling out, and so we're trying to take baby steps with you guys and start introducing you to some of the new technology that's
Mhm.
coming out. So we're gonna live stream from the office today at noon, this 3 simple steps to start using
Okay.
command.
So
Okay.
obviously I can't do that.
Yeah, well,
This is
I don't
taken.
know if we're gonna record it or not, but yeah, there's important videos that we post from here
Okay.
with updates. So there's just all kinds of stuff,
Okay.
okay? So I would, if I were you, I would check this a couple times a day, maybe once in the morning, once at
Okay.
night. See that, we started advertising my class last week.
Oh, and I just saw it this last night.
Well, cause I put it on my personal page, so I'm glad that I
Okay.
did, otherwise you probably would have missed it,
Yes, I would have.
okay? Career seminar, I mean, lots of different things. So
Yes.
it's chock full of good stuff. And this is a great place for you to go and ask questions if you have them. Like if you have a question or you're working on a deal and you can't get a hold of someone, and who do you normally go to with questions there, Sherry or
Sure, you're Wendy.
okay, or Wendy? If they're unavailable, you can always go to our closed Facebook group and say, hey guys, I have a quick question. Is there anyone who can call me and help me? Or you can post the question in the group and within minutes, you'll have half a dozen answers.
Okay. No, I'm actually, I guess I've been struggling because I've been trying to discover learning it by myself. 'Cause
Yeah.
Sherry's so busy.
No,
And then I
don't
asked,
do that to yourself.
and I asked Wendy, and she's just like, well, just, she's a great friend. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And she's being so helpful, but she's just like, I've got so many times where I've learned it the Coldwell Banker way, the Dyna way. She goes, you really need to, reach out to somebody.
Here's
that's
what I
a
want
teller."
you to do. Call our broker, call me.
Okay.
If you need help and you're not getting it, the last thing I want is for you to be struggling all alone, feeling like you're on an island. Call. But we don't need.
Cindy helped me last week.
Okay, good. But yeah, or call Cindy's a great
Yes.
resource as well. But we're not gonna know that you need help unless you raise your hand and ask for it,
and I
right?
just,
So ask for it.
I know.
That is what your leadership team is here for. We are here to support the agent. So
Yes.
whatever you need, we've got Lisa. Have you met Lisa yet?
I
Let's
don't
go
think so.
introduce you to Lisa. You got Lisa as a resource as well. She's a great
Okay.
person to start with
I
if you have
yeah,
questions.
I tried to.
And if it's something that she can't help you with, here's what she will do. She will point you to